my God.
I typically never do commissions for my friends because none of them like paying for it. But when my buddy Justin asked for a shuffleboard, I couldn't resist whooping his ass on it after I built it, so we did this. The first thing we gotta do is mill down some of these 14-foot long, 8-quarter soft maple boards. These, I think, are the biggest boards I've ever milled in this shop. So let's get squarely. Quarter inch under. All right, my children, so we cut all these boards and then turned them on their side, you probably noticed. That means the grain is running this way. So when this thing expands and contracts, most of the expansion will be vertically. This is what you would call a butcher block glue up. It's try to eliminate expansion and contraction this way. So what we're gonna do now is mark our layout, make sure we like where all the boards are. They're pretty clean, so probably not gonna switch any of those. But then we're gonna add dominoes for alignment on the top. That way when we get this thing into flattening, we're not killing ourselves, taking off high spots and low spots. You don't need to do that part. I typically wouldn't do that part, but because this thing's 14 feet long, that part is something we don't feel like doing down there.
The red oak is now thickness, and here's a little tip for you guys on a way to be more efficient with your material. So we need to make some 5-inch wide by 27 was the final length for the legs of this thing. So we're going to rough cut them down to about 28 and then go over to the joiner and joint them. Some of these boards are just absolutely a circle. They just have a ridiculous curve into them. So we would lose a ton of material and it would take a ton of time to get a nice straight edge on all that. When we don't really need to worry about that, if you cut it down to a smaller piece, it's way easier to joint and it'll take off way less material. So now that the pieces have been rough cut and S3 lumber at this point, meaning they're square on the 2 big sides and 1 short side. Next, we need to make a miter joint. So we're not gonna do a solid leg for these. We're going to do a boxed miter, which isn't inherently a super strong structure. It ends up being end grain to end grain, sort of. So to fix that, we're gonna do what's called a spline joint in the miter. So that little gap right there in the miter will end up with, I think I'll probably use maple. We'll put a little piece in there so when we glue it together, not only does it help with the alignment, but it will also increase the surface area, making face-to-face glue contact, which is extremely strong. So that's the plan. I'm gonna start by taking all of these boards, ripping them down to the width that we want them to be, and then we'll come back and add the miter to both sides, and then we'll add the little spline joint, and I'll show you how to do that when we get there. Cue up the music, cue up the awesome slow-mo, sawdust, amazingness. So, I took my piece that we did the test cut on and I ripped it so that it's the exact same width as...
What are you kids doing?
We're making your thing.
That's Sam's eye. That's Jordan. Does it go good?
Yeah. Sorry, we were rudely interrupted. He just comes down here, shoves a phone in my face, and then leaves. Doesn't even help with his own YouTube channel. It's unbelievable. All right, are you ready for this?
Y'all ready for this?
We have 2 miters. Now we have to make this part. I don't think in the history of this channel we've ever done this. We're on the other side.
You can do that?
Yeah.
No, I'm done.
It feels super, I don't like it. We lowered the blade to set it to that height. I'm fine with what that was there. It doesn't really matter. About halfway through the thickness of your material. Now I'm gonna lock this thing back onto the thing, slide this guy over. See how that fits? And just like that, wham, you have a little cut perpendicular to your miter. We can put a piece of wood in, spline joints. Now I gotta make 48 3-foot long cuts.
So we cut the slot for the splines, and then off camera we made splines out of maple. Kyle is here helping us. We went through and we did a dry fit. We also tried to grain match as best as we could. That way it looks like it's all one solid piece. Yeah, we're gonna glue these up. It's gonna suck. And John is still upstairs.
But we have Kyle, so.
I think belongs in an art museum.
We learned a couple things on the first two. Like, don't do more than one at once. Have clamps ready, lots of things.
Last one used less clamps. I think we're down to 8 instead of 12. But now all we got left are the big boys.
John, why did you build something with so many legs?
We designed it, he didn't build it.
If you guys like to see us struggle, please subscribe. Legs are now at a glue up. I'm going to give them a light sand just to get some of the squeeze out glue off of them. Jordan's over there getting the squeeze out off the playing surface. Then we'll have some more lumber to mill, and hopefully John comes down because Jordan and I have absolutely no idea how to build this. I'm not really even sure anymore.
Hi guys, it's me, John, the one you normally see in front of the camera. I am back assisting these two minions with this shuffleboard. So they did a great job of getting these mitered feet glued up. If you want to, you could build these out of just thick, chunky material. We didn't have that opportunity, so we went with these boxes. Now we're gonna cut these down to length, and then what we're gonna do is assemble what's going to be our 3 legs. The one unique thing about this table is that we have to make this thing completely knocked down. So this top has to be a separate piece, and so do these bottoms, this stretcher here, because of the way we need to get it into the house. Let's get to chopping. Hey, real quick, if you want to build awesome stuff like this shuffleboard, take the time and check out Woodcraft. Woodcraft, bar none, best woodworking store on the planet. They've got a killer online store, and they also have physical locations all over the United States. So check them out. I appreciate their support of our channel. Sam and I absolutely love it. And our personal store here in Pittsburgh has popcorn when it's not a pandemic. So your store is probably just as awesome or better. I highly advise checking it out. Now, excuse me real quick, because I've got awesomeness to do with the shuffle. So I'm gonna cross cut these on the table saw because it's more accurate than the miter saw. Here's a tip for you guys. In order to keep things as square as you can, just make sure you're keeping the same part of whatever board you're cutting against the fence. So I'll cut this side square over here, and instead of flipping it this way, I'll flip it this way. If I drop down, butt up against it, boom, cut it square. All right, good people. For the joinery on the leg assembly or the base assembly parts and all of this thingamajig, we're using dominoes, the XL and the regular. If you don't have one, you can cut your joinery by whatever method you see fit. We want to use some sort of integral tenon. The dominoes the fastest, and we make our money getting shit done. Let's cut some holes. So to make mock-up easier, one thing we like to do with our domino joinery is anytime I have a tight tenon, so there's 2 settings on domino. If you don't have one, you can make a tight or a loose hole. When I have a tight hole, we like to put our domino in, and then it's stuck in one side for mock-up. So we'll do this, and then I'll cut the rest of the joints in the leg. Chunky.
Of course, the last glue up cracked as I put this clamp on like this. I'm working some glue into it now, so I can then move my clamp over the end. Never easy, Jordan.
Mocking this up, AKA mock jams, in order to mark all of our layout points, where we want all of our integral parts to go, so we can cut the joinery once and then assemble. We're going with dominoes once again. Shit's gonna fall out, you're gonna have an aneurysm. Are you ready? What?
Don't pick it up by the clamp.
Yep. Exactly what I thought was gonna happen. Put it back.
Put it in reverse, Terry.
Put it in reverse, Terry!
Oh shit.
I need to get him a step ladder so we can work on this stuff. Be an athlete. Hey, Macarena. Where's the last one of these? Sorry, couldn't see it.
Well, use your eyes.
Gyrations.
Watch your arse.
Going down. Lower, 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 lower.
Oh, we can't. I think I'm sitting on the bench. No, we're good.
This thing's so long. Who built this damn thing?
This is kind of what I was looking for. I just wanted to like see it.
Just wanted to feel it, taste it.
Oh my God.
What was that? Piece of wood off the floor.
What do you think?
I'm so stuck.
Go under, you dumbass. Why would you go that way? It's even worse.
We need a bigger shop. Looks good.
See you guys tomorrow?
Yes.
That thing's gonna be sweet.
All right, kids. So we are out of clamps. We're going to build the stretcher system for the base. Make sure everything's square, the big ass square, and then what we're gonna do is use knockdown joinery to fasten the legs into what we're gonna call the box. We can't get this in the house unless we do this. We're then gonna run a stretcher across here. We'll mortise it into, or whatever, put it into here, and then it'll land on this side with Domino's quick connect fasteners. And that should tie this whole base together, and it should be nice and stable, should be no racking. The thing probably weighs, 300 pounds already. That'll help from anything kind of shaking and moving. So through some brilliant ingenuity, Festool has developed what they call their connect system. You have this part here that will go into our face here, and it'll sit there. This bolt tightens in there and it spreads this apart. On the other side, you have a mortised hole in your piece. It'll come into here now, connect, and then you cut another hole where this piece sits. The bolt comes into that piece and it's pinned right here. So then we can use an Allen key to disconnect this entire side. This whole part stays in here, and we have a nice, easy, what's called knockdown joinery. We don't have to do anything crazy because we can just use all dominoes. I invested in this probably like 5 years ago, and we find that when we need to do knockdown stuff, it is worth its weight in gold. Thank you, Festool. So it's time for us to create what is going to be the fastening system for the box to the base. I'm gonna recess, this is a hex head, it's a 2.5 inch bolt through our base. I've got them marked out. Gotta do the recess first. Come back, trusty old vertical drilling jig. Did I get her?
Sounded like it.
So this is my bit about bits. As you can see, this looks like it was sanded. It was not. I just put a fresh new surfacing bit in. We got it from Bits and Bits. It's the white side 6220 2-inch surfacing bit. As your bits get older, if you start getting burn marks like this and it feels a little rough, your bit's probably dull, and we abuse the heck out of these bits. Pretty hard on them, but they last a really long time, and then whenever you need a new one, you just order it from Bits and Bits, and if you actually request them to send you a joke, they will. And they're super fast, super reliable, and we actually have a code for you to save some money. Check them out, Bits and Bits. Thank you for supporting the channel, and I gotta continue to flatten this thing and get it perfect.
Are you ready? Good, because this thing weighs a ton. Gotta rip her down to size. Oh. Oh. Because of the size of this mother sucker Jones.
Last name Jones. You got a problem with that?
We have to cut 13/16 off of each side. Yeah. Then we'll have pretty even boards here. So next thing we need to do is put some reference lines into our board here. Now you could do this by hand if you wanted to. We've got the CNC, so we're gonna go with that. Essentially, all we're looking to do is create some lines here, and these are 6 inches apart. We'll put a line in the center, and then we're gonna put an M, because the individual purchasing this, his last name begins with an M. He's actually one of my oldest friends. His locker was next to mine as a youth. Our fathers were custodians together. We played football together for years, and he went to West Virginia. Now I hate his guts. But
Don't lie.
the M is for Malecki, because when it shows up and he says one negative thing about it, I'm taking it home. Let's go.
Give him north valve.
Why,
Ooh, what?
I don't think the top's big enough.
I agree, we should get a new one. And for my next trick, we fill the letters. We're using epoxy because we use tons of epoxy. If we were doing like say a walnut base, we'd probably do walnut inlays in here. We know some guys do brass rods, but this is kind of our style. No.
Hey, John's back.
5 minutes a day.
You guys got jokes, huh? We're gonna tabletop epoxy playing surface here, and before we do so, I'm gonna wipe off any dust that was left behind by Jordan, because we know he's the dustiest one around here. We'll mix up some resin, dump it on there, watch it drip on the floor, get super sad, and then go home. Hope it cures overnight.
Yeah, that's it.
So today we're going with tabletop epoxy, 2-part, 1-to-1 ratio. Got some fresh squeegees here for you.
You just call it tip-top epoxy?
Tabletop, 1-to-1.
Man, I did this once without my eye protection. I was literally like, I won't need it, splattered right in my eye, immediately. I'm not a huge fan of tabletop epoxy, but from my experience, you literally just kind of want to like get it on the surface best you can. Self-leveling, and we have our table completely level. I touch it, Sam goes in the same room as it. What? You unlevel things, that's what you do. But then you just want to kind of spread it around. It's thick and thin, which if that makes sense.
Nope.
So like it's thin enough to spread, but it's thick enough that it's not gonna like just pour off the table like water. We love them.
In the name of all that is squirrely, let us spray.
All right, so the tabletop epoxy is dry. I'm gonna hit it with a scuff coat just to try to even out a couple little bumps and imperfections that just tend to happen with this kind of stuff. Then we'll wax this thing and we should be able to get installed here pretty soon. So, excuse me. Gotta work on that. Now that it's sanded, I went the whole way up to 320 grit. What we're gonna do next is wax it. I just have some paste wax here, and I'm just gonna rub the paste wax on by hand. After I get about a foot to 18 inches, I'll wipe that off, and I'll just keep working my way back up the board. And this is a good way to, if you're finishing any epoxy, like Sam and I have had success with this in the past. It's not the greatest for clear, crystal clear epoxy. We like to use some of the automotive compounds on crystal clear epoxy, but it works great on colored epoxy as well. So sand up to 320, wax buff. Nice sheen. Besides sheen, this is almost more important that we have a insanely slick surface. Rubber in. I am creating holes for levelers. We're gonna put some threaded inserts and some nuts in here to help keep this thing level, just in case the floor in the home it's going in isn't perfect. Don't know if this is necessary, but I've seen it on other plans. And speaking of, we got enough people requesting it, we're gonna do a plan on this one. So that's down in the description. If you guys wanna build one of these for yourself. So I have all the locations for tensioner rod, which are these things. One side is threaded for wood and the other side threaded for a bolt. So you can see kind of how it works, and therefore you can create tension. You want the tabletop to be slightly concave. That way your puck stays on the table. So we're gonna screw these in and hope this works. This is a special driver that you need for these. Some of them can drive them straight from the top. I have all of our hole depths, should be the same, so should be able to just bury these, and it should work. Sure, I'm glad I bought that, huh? Last thing we need to do is put some carpet down in this. So we have to cut this in half and then cut straight lines.
So we're gonna get 2 pucks.
It looks like we knew what we were doing. So we are at my buddy Justin's house, the new owner of our shuffleboard. We've been friends since I was a child, and now I'm gonna take his window out of his basement so we can get this in here. Sorry, bud. Not sorry.
It's an open concept basement.
Indoor outdoor living.
It didn't move, which is always a plus.
Daddy's here.
How you want it?
Turn it so the metal's up. These guys are doing great. We are in a short level too.
Not a digital one. Yeah, let's be honest, it's gonna be pushed around.
Here she is. Give her a look, see.
Wow, she's sick. Looks awesome.
So we haven't put the beads on yet.
Yeah, it looks good, huh?
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I can't wait to take all of your money playing it.
I was gonna say, should we go double or nothing right now, or what?
So that's gonna be a wrap on this one. This thing turned out sick. I think it may be my favorite woodworking project to date. We had a ton of fun building this. If you want us to build more degenerate gambling and underground casino type projects, leave a comment down below, tell us what you wanna see. And if not, check out this video, because it's ridiculous.